when you see me speaking about Diego, his daughter and his grandson is who we're about to talk about during the interview with Rick Green. Now, you're going to find it super aggravating. You're going to get very angry. You're going to want to do something, I hope, and I pray, and I know you guys, so I think you will. Here's the problem. It was a glitch. Everything that I say, you can hear and you can see. Everything that Rick says in answer to me, you will hear. But, are you watching me? I'm so sorry. It got out of sync because of the buffering, and after this thing ended, I needed about half a bottle of bufferin to survive. So when you watch Rick speak, you're going to hear him talk, but he's going to be staring at you, and suddenly the video is going to catch up. It's going to be very annoying, very unprofessional, look like crap. I'm with you. I agree. I can't fix it. But I promise you, if you want to just listen, don't annoy yourself by looking at the screen. Just listen. You're going to really find this to be an interesting, aggravating, and hopefully inspiring conversation for you to take action to change these people's lives and help them in something that happened to them, but also to realize what's at stake in America and how badly we need to start really putting our foot down and ending any mandate in any way whatsoever, or any excuse for not drilling oil and taking care of America first and letting ourselves be self-sufficient. It's all coming to a head. So you need to be part of this situation so we can be the Americans that fight for freedom and liberty. So, again, I'm warning you. Listen, listen, listen. Please continue to speak and write to each and talk to each other. And I'll watch. But it's not going to be in sync. The lips are going to be off. He's going to be staring. You're going to hear him. Then he's going to catch up. So it's going to be very annoying. You don't need to tell me it's not working. I'm telling you right now. Audio is fine. Everything is fine there. So even if you have to turn your screen to dark if you want to and just listen, you're going to like it. If you want to interject and talk to each other or me or whatever while it's going, you can do that. So you've been fairly warned, but this is me first on the steps in Boise 2 months after all this crap started. This is 2020 when there was someone on the line and we defied the government and did this. After that 10 minutes, you're going to then see me go and cut to Rick Green and listen to what happened to him and his daughter and what's happening in America and what you can do about it. Wyatt, take it away to Boise, Idaho, 2 years ago.
Yes, come on now. Come on now. Yeah, thank you. Look at her. All right. I am excited to be here. I am not from here. I am from Nashville, Tennessee, from the volunteer state. I have volunteered to come to Idaho because I wanted to see what America looks like over here. This is what it was all about. This is what got it started. I love Idaho, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, easy to spell. I love a state that just says make it 5 letters, that's all we need. And let me tell you why I love Idaho. Because when I look at you people, I look at these kids, I look at the elderly, I look at all the people here with their guns and their AR-15s, and they've got everything. We've got this guy who's not even real, he's a hologram. And let me tell you why I love Idaho, because you guys remember what made America great. You guys remember that blue collar, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, America. I'll tell you why I love you, because you hunt, you fish, and you don't apologize for it. That's America. That's America. Oh, I am sick up to here with the political correct. Don't shoot the animals, they might get their feelings hurt. This is Idaho. You don't even pretend to be animal rights activists. You people are see the bunny, shoot it, eat it, make a hat. Out of that's America. That's a cute bunny. Yeah, it sure was a cute bunny. That a snake? No, that's a boot right there. Put it on. That's America. Shoot it, eat it. You got a head left over, hang it on your wall. Why? Because you remember that we were a country built on individuals. Individuals. And you needed the ability for this country to work, that people would be virtuous people. Every one of the founding fathers said if they're not ethical people, virtuous people, religious people, this country will not stand. And that's what I see here today. Oh my goodness. I mean, how do you... Okay, good job. Thank you. Just trying to get it going. Let me tell you what I love about you guys. Men and women together, coming to worship together. That's what I love. I see the men and women going to church on Sundays. And not only that, but when you go to church, you're packing. How do you not love that? That has got to make your altar calls a lot more effective. Well, would you like to accept Jesus as your Savior? I don't know. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. But you see, you guys are part of that plan. You're part of the remembrance, of the legacy, of the chain of Americans who came together as individuals and then said, let's be one. Let's be strong. I mean, I see this man right here, Diego Rodriguez. One guy decided something has to be done. Now, we all thought it. We all believed it, but he said, let's do something. He didn't talk about it, didn't wring his hands, didn't whine. He said, let's get Idaho together and let's tell the government that you forgot your place in the pecking order. Let's make sure you understand that we believe, of course, in the Constitution. We believe, of course, in being good citizens. We believe, of course, we want no one to die. We believe, of course, that whatever is necessary to make this thing work, we're ready to do it. But you have to have the consent of the governed to move forward, my friends. That's America. And so I want you to give a round of applause. He wouldn't have asked for it, but for Diego Rodriguez for organizing this event today. American, just doing his thing. Now you think I'm overemphasizing this. This man's name, as you heard, is Diego Rodriguez. If I'm not mistaken, he's only the second Mexican ever to make it to Idaho. There's three. The other guy's got the taco stand. I've been there, yes. But here's what's so crucial and important to you, America. Diego told me a story that he had another gathering like this, and that the press came to vilify him. It was a church. Oh, it was a church service. No wonder. I didn't realize it was so dangerous. Okay, now it makes sense. The man had a church service. The press came, took pictures, and they claimed that Diego Rodriguez was a white supremacist. The brownest guy in this crowd was called a white supremacist. Apparently the left has run out of ideas. But I love that. I love that you stood forth and you did the strong things. You see, one of the things that we're looking at today with this gathering of you folks is people with different histories, different people with different backgrounds coming together and being one, because that was the key to America. What you hear from the left is multiculturalism. All cultures are the same. No. You want to know if your country's great or not? Do people want in? Or do they want out? And I don't hear about people digging tunnels trying to sneak into North Korea. Anybody hearing about that? They went into the United States, as they should. It's the greatest nation the world has ever known. It has given more freedoms, more help to other great people throughout this world than any nation on earth. It's a great nation. I didn't say the people are inherently better. But the nation, the creed that this Constitution was formed on, was that we would live under this idea that all men are created equal by their creator. That is the key. The founders were very specific. We don't get our rights from the government, because if we do, they'll go hide in a condominium.
Not everybody got that one.
We get our rights from God. Why does that matter? Because if God gives you your rights, man can't take them away from you. That's how the game works. So I come up here on a day like this, you're going, why are they bringing a comedian to such a sobering event? Well, there's a lot of reasons. Number one, I'm cheap. They have closed down every comedy club, every bar, every church, every venue where human beings used to come together and laugh. They've closed them down. I am now going to leave this place after this great event with a bag of potatoes. That's all I get. But at least they're Idaho potatoes, the best potatoes in the world. And you are charismatic, brother. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. And then I came out here, and they honored me to come out and be with my fellow citizens, because you are. I'm from Nashville. I was born in Indiana. We moved to California. I now live in Tennessee. I'm right here with Idaho. Why? Because I'm a citizen of the United States. Every one of you men and women and kids are my brothers and sisters. We have something at stake here as a nation. And I love that. The other reason we wanted to have comedy was because we should be able to laugh again. Because we are going to come out the other side of this better, smarter, wiser than we were before. And I cannot wait for the day, he better hurry, when President Trump calls China up and says, you owe the Americans $1 trillion. Why is no one talking about China? They did this. Are we going to stand for it, or are we going to expect them to pay us back? And Italy, and the UK, and everybody else. You see, that's what we really have to decide. Do we expect ourselves as Americans to truly be able to regain the freedom that has been taken and maintain what we were? Because it's never going to be the same, guys. It's never going to be exactly like it was. But if there's one thing I hope you grasp from this whole experience, do not take freedom lightly. It can be stolen. It's a gift.
So that was me in Idaho, but I want you to notice, and I try to make it very clear, that was May 2020. So that was literally 2 months after we were only 2 weeks flattening the curve. That curve apparently got so flat, it's indecipherable. But that's what happens when you give an inch, they take a mile. You know, if you give them enough rope, they'll hang themselves. You take any metaphor, you take any kind of idiom you want to use, but nothing is more apparent than the lifetime of historical observation that if you give someone power, two things will happen. They will abuse it, and they will never give it back. That happens every stinking time. Last week, I wanted to interview with Rick Green, who is the America's Constitution coach, a good friend of mine, a great patriot. I love having him on. He's very interested and very connected on these issues. And this has a very different, poignant reason why I'm bringing Rick on. It would have been normally about the Constitution, which is enough to learn about. But this gets a little bit more personal, because when you just saw me on the State House steps in Boise, Idaho, with Diego Rodriguez, who brought me in to talk about opening up, the governor had just
said we're going to open up, I think, at half capacity. And then he went up into his condominium and refused to come and speak to the people. That's why when I made a joke and referenced the government will hide in a condominium, that's because the guy across the street, their governor, was actually hiding up there that second. That's why Diego laughed about it. But he was saying, let's go to half capacity. Diego and his pack and his people came out as Idahoans and said, no, we're opening up full blown. What do you mean? Let's only open up. I'm going to dictate for you guys. And this was just 2 months after this all started, that we were going to have to get used to this new idea. We'll make the rules and you'll follow them, or we'll shut you down, which is what happened. So let me waste no more time other than I wanted to help you understand the context of where I was and why I was doing that. So for a couple of reasons that are even more synergistic, Rick Green's the one who introduced me to Diego. I didn't know him until Rick said, hey, this guy's doing this event. He thinks you might be a great asset to add to this mix. This is something you care about. And Rick was going to go. He couldn't get there. But I went, had a great time. And little did I know how poignant that was. And this was, again, just 2 months into it. We didn't know we were going to get 2 years of it, which is where we are right now in March. 2 years when this crazy started. So let's bring him in. Rick Green, America's Constitution coach, my buddy, my friend. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Brad. How you doing, brother? Good to be with you.
I'm doing great. It was great seeing you at NRB with Eric Metaxas. I saw you get to interview with him. Hope you all said hi for him. That was great. You were with.
Well, as soon as I said I knew Brad Stine, he kicked me off the show. So it was going to be a good interview, but I mentioned you, and that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens every time. That is unfortunate, but it is. I have to live with it, unfortunately.
Hey, he said he loves you, man. He said he loves you. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, he's a great guy, and I've known him for a number of years. And just like you, a patriot, somebody that has fought the good fight and has been out there doing the hard work. So here's what I wanted to say to you. So when I was going to speak with you last week, we were going to really talk about the Constitution and what rights does the federal government have to come in and begin to sort of make rules for fellow citizens. And that's what I call the president a fellow citizen, or the Congress or Senate. They're simply citizens of the United States, voted to represent my voice. That's right. And in the House, and to simply deliver what I want them to deliver to the people that are in charge of making laws and sort of helping to allow the country to function. And next thing we know, we watched a soft totalitarianism take over the United States of America. So let me ask you this first. You are an expert on the Constitution and on American history. You work with wall builders and David Barton. So let me ask you this. First things I would want to bring in before we bring up this issue with Diego.
Yeah.
Has there been any other time in American history where something similar to really federal government control over the citizenry as to how they could function, or even if they could work, make a living, how they had to behave, where they could go? Has that happened any other time prior to this, or is this literally unprecedented?
Literally unprecedented in a peaceful time, right? I mean, you could go back to the Civil War and martial law and things like that in areas, and having different situations with the federal government regarding your constitutional rights being delayed in court and that sort of thing. But in a peaceful time, absolutely not. Even 1918 Spanish flu, far worse than this, 25 times more deadly than COVID-19, and kids dying that got it that morning, dead that night. I mean, it was really bad. And even then, you had none of this shutdown business. You had some cities that did some internal stuff for a couple of weeks. Literally, it was just a few. The longest one I could find was 6 weeks in Wisconsin in some of their cities. And it was a voluntary thing. There, you definitely didn't have anything like what we're dealing with now. Even the masks back then, it was in San Francisco and a few other cities where they did that, challenged at many levels, but never a federal mandate, never a statewide mandate. And within 5 years, the entire scientific community said the mask did absolutely nothing with regard to Spanish flu. We've always known that with regard to respiratory deals and airborne things. We just lost our minds, Brad. We literally lost our minds. We did something that has never, ever been done. And it actually comes back to the same thing we're going to talk about in a moment with regard to Diego, because it all goes back to John Jay's quote. If you know your rights, you will perceive when they're violated, and you'll be prepared to defend and assert them. Which means if you don't know your rights, you won't even perceive them being violated, and you certainly won't know how to defend and assert them. And I think that's what happened with COVID. We did not know our rights. We didn't know the proper role of government. We never imagined the federal government would do a vaccine mandate, mask mandate, all these ridiculous things. I'm still wearing a mask on an airplane when the CEOs have told us they've got the best filtration system. You're better off in that airplane than anywhere else. We know the masks don't work, and you still want me to wear one on an airplane. It's absurd. You walk in the airport, and it's an alternative universe. Yeah. I refuse to wear it in the airport. Anyway, bottom line is no. That was a really long answer to your question, but no, we've never done anything.
And it was it was an important answer, because that's exactly what I want to know. So just to be clear, you're saying that that when you saw the pictures of the Spanish flu and a few folks wearing masks, you're saying that was only in a couple cities anyways?
Well, not just a couple. I mean, it was a couple, probably a dozen or more, but it was your big cities like San Francisco, Philadelphia. You had a few that actually had, if you come downtown or you're in mass areas with a lot of people, that's where we want you to wear them. But it wasn't, hey, wear one at the park, wear one at home, wear one when you're walking your dog, or wear one, in a restaurant just because there's 3 other people spread out across the rest. It was, nobody lost their mind like that back then. And they have a few pictures of these big areas with a bunch of cots and people in it, and they use those from 1918 to try to scare us into doing these things that they claim were used to solve Spanish flu, all of which is absolutely a lie. They call them NPIs, Brad. It's a non-pharmaceutical intervention. And so they claim that when there is no vaccine, the NPIs are the only way to stop a virus, even though never, ever in the history of mankind have they stopped a virus with an NPI, with a non-pharmaceutical intervention. It's a big fancy way of saying government control. That's essentially what it is. Doesn't work, never has worked, but boy, oh boy, do they love the power. And that's what this whole thing was about, was a power trip and trying to change our lifestyle, change the American way of life. And unfortunately, you and I have talked about this, they succeeded. They managed to get most of the nation to follow like sheep with something that absolutely failed at every step of the way.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I have observed as well, just to watch it continue. I was just in California. I was performing in San Diego. There were some folks wearing masks, of course, but not everybody, but a few. And I mean, maybe I'm naive. After all this that has happened, maybe I'm stupid to even have expected more. But it was San Diego. This is where a big, giant naval base is. It's just south of Camp Pendleton, a Marine base. I always grew up in Southern California, seeing that Orange County and San Diego County, high military appreciation, high patriotic appreciation, very conservative. And that seems to even that seems to be waning. Of course, we also watched the infiltration of our military to
that's what I was going to say. Yeah,
wokeness, and we're watching things happening in our military that I don't even know how else to describe it, other than an infiltration and a destruction of the what would have normally have been the duty and the discipline and the focus on all that matters in the military, which is, are you ready and able to go to war or to defend whatever is necessary at the moment? We have some kind of crazy invasion, or we have some kind of scenario where our allies in trouble. Are we quickly able to mobilize and go to war? Or if it happened to happen here, then of course we have the National Guard. But if something horrific happened, I guess the military could work here too. But that was kind of their duty, and that meant that they had to. There was no nonsense. There was there's no games. I'm not here to make it easy on you. You don't get to do push-ups on your knees. You have to man up and get ready to rock and roll, because this is the last line of resistance before the country doesn't exist and citizenry die. And now that is even being infiltrated and cracked and broken. And so that's why what we're about to talk about, this story with Diego, is so important, because not only is it something that isn't unfortunately completely unheard of in America, we've seen it a lot more in Europe, and certainly in Canada. This has become very, very normal with Trudeau. I, I mean, I don't like to make just general aspirations, but this guy's the biggest wuss leader I've ever seen. I mean, it's embarrassing to think that guy's leading you, because it clearly this
He's the
isn't the
poster child for beta males. I'm telling you.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, it's just horrific. And there's a reason that God made men men and women women, because we have a very specific task as men in what we are going to feel and desire, which is to defend our wives, or our, the females, to defend our children and defend our territory. That's very masculine, very God breathed. Heck, when it first started in the garden, God said, here's your garden. I made it, but you're going to tend to it. You're going to take care of it. This is your responsibility. Get to work. I'm not doing the business for you. And when they failed, God held them accountable. So there's no second chance when the military fails. There's no let's take a mulligan. They fail, we don't exist. And the only way they're going to do that is finding a way to circumvent the only document in the world, apparently, that has a shot at fending on this worldwide wokeness that is destroying us. And so let's get to the specifics.
Hey, if I could, one quick comment, if you don't mind, on the military before we go to Diego, because everything you just said, so true. And I would have thought this was the one place that it wouldn't happen, because it is usually no nonsense. Hey, we're here to kill the bad guys and blow things up. I mean, ultimately, it's readiness. Is everything you were talking about? Is do we have military readiness? Can we quickly respond and deal with the situation? And I hate to say it, man, this is not your grandfather's military, your father's military, not even your big brother's military. I mean, it has changed dramatically with the wokeness in such a short period of time, in just a handful of years. And a lot of that is who they replace as generals. A lot of it is White House policy through 8 years of Obama, and now with Biden. And it is sad to watch it happen. And I think the whole jab thing in the military, to actually drum out the toughest warriors on the planet. We're talking Navy SEALs, Black Hawk helicopter pilots. We're talking amazing warriors that they want to get rid of. It's a purge in the military. So they want to get rid of the last ones that are willing to say no to the insanity and actually use their brains. And that is so dangerous, Brad. I mean, it is. I mean, it's one of the things that upsets me the most about all of this over the last 2 years, because, like you said, that one, you mess that one up, and you lose the country. And so I'm really afraid the whole Ukraine thing, if it spins completely out of control, we're going to show our weakness to the world ultimately. And because of the wokeness, because of the jab, because of frankly, the dissension and the conflict within the military that has been created by these cultural Marxists that made their way into our military, that we've got a real problem there. It can be solved, obviously. Everything rises and falls with leadership. We see that as we read the Old Testament, of course, and we see that in our country. But it makes you wonder how much time we've got. And, with this president having almost 3 more years to be at the helm of this military, we've got serious issues there. I'm sorry. I know you wanted to get to Diego, but I thought your topic was spot on.
Listen, it's excellent input, because the truth is, we're not just doing interviews anymore for the sake of doing an interview. There's real existential issues at stake that we have to deal with. And the people that watch you and watch me are the kind of people that would defend their nation. Matter of fact, I just read this today. They were asking, they took a quick poll to Democrats and Republicans about the Ukrainian situation. They said, if this happened to the U.S., the same thing that happened to Ukrainian, would you stay and fight? And 40% of the Democrats said they would, and 68% of the Republicans said that they would stay and fight. Only 40% of Democrats said they'd stay and fight, and that they would also, let me see if I can get my glasses here. And then fleeing, only 25% of Republicans said they'd flee if they were being invaded. 52% of Democrats said they would flee. So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with
Yeah.
fellow Americans who will abandon us at a heartbeat. They're proving it. They're still wearing their masks. How much more data needs to be exposed to say, I mean, it's all out in the open now. Masks didn't work. Now we're talking about major medical associations are saying it. Now it's not just Fox News or a couple of guys like you and I trying to get this out there. Masks don't work. Cloth masks don't work. Distancing didn't. MIT did a distancing thing 6 months ago and said it's not working.
And we're finally finding out they made that up on the spot. Where'd they get 6 feet social? They literally made it up on the spot. No scientific reason to do 6 feet. No, I mean, they literally created that on a whim. Just crazy, man. I'll say this on the poll you were just talking about. I think my second favorite UFC fighter is a kid named Bryce Mitchell out of Arkansas, and just a phenomenal kid. He was on Tucker the other night, by the way. And I thought he expressed it so well. He's like, I don't understand this Ukraine situation. I don't know who the good guys and bad guys are over there. But he said, I guarantee you, if they come here, I'm digging my boots in and defending Arkansas no matter what it takes. And that's, where is that, right? Where is that attitude of this is our country, and no matter what it takes to defend it, we're going to defend it. That kid's got it, and there is a percentage of them out there that have it. Maybe, Brad, maybe it's always been this way. I don't know that I've ever seen polls on that from years ago. Maybe it's always been just a small percentage. I know in the Revolutionary War it was 25% for it, 25% against it, 50% didn't care, didn't pay attention, and only 3% actually fought. So, the others get to live off the benefit of those of us who are willing to.
Well, anyways, we understand what's at stake. We're doing everything we can to shout it out, let them know, hopefully gather warriors. I think maybe some folks that were on the fence are seeing everything that's gone haywire, and maybe they will come to our side. Maybe it's going to take some kind of threat that is much beyond $5 a gallon of gas, or much beyond having to take a vaccine. Maybe it's going to take more, and we'll figure it out. But let's cut to why I thought this was really important, just to let people know what is going on. So,
by the way, you said $5 a gallon gas. You're clearly still in Tennessee and not in California. Or you would have said like 7 or 8. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I know. No, well, actually, Tennessee's at 4. So we're
okay. You're good.
Yeah, but so you guys saw me on the steps of the Boise, Idaho Capitol, defending Idaho's right to fully open, fully doing business. That's what they said. We're open for business. We're not taking your nonsense. 2 months into the beginning of the nonsense. So that's how long I've been fighting this, and a lot of Americans have been fighting it long time. This isn't jumping on the bandwagon late and saying, oh, aren't I a warrior? This was 2 months in when things hadn't even gotten near as bad, but everybody was saying, do whatever they tell us. And I and a number of other guys like yourself have said, no way. This is going south right now. We saw it. We warned you. We now have history to prove we were right. And so maybe next time we'll find the true warriors. But Diego, who is a true warrior, who brought me in, who had the courage to get the State House to be a platform for him to make this right across the street from where the governor stayed, has some daughters and some sons. He's a typical homeschooler. So, you got to have like 10, 15 kids, as you know. That's crucial, because somebody's got to, plow the field, and the other one's got to harvest the corn
and churn the milk.
That's right, and churn the milk. But
churn the butter. Yeah, thank you.
But one of his daughters, his youngest, actually, is named Marissa. I met her, one of your Patriot Academy graduates, and or at least went. I don't know if she still goes, but she was part of that. And I met her, a wonderful family, Patriots. She carries a gun proudly. Young girl, 22 years old, recently married, maybe a year ago. And so with a young man who's a warrior and conservative and whatnot, probably also went to Patriot. Maybe that's where they met. I don't know. But that's who they were. And they had a son recently whose name is Cyrus. Great name. And they, which is Diego's daughter, so his grandson, Cyrus, apparently, and I'm going to let you fill in the blanks, but apparently Cyrus had been going to his pediatrician, and I guess it maybe had some health issues or wasn't feeding well, something, maybe losing some weight. and Marissa got sick and had an appointment to bring him in to try to do a well check and help him get a little bit better or find some way to gain some calories and weight. Not unusual for a young child sometimes to be underweight. And she had to cancel and called the pediatrician. I'm sick, so I'm not going to be able to bring him in. And from my understanding, and you can go into more detail, the pediatrician called, I don't know who he called, but he called someone and basically claimed that this child was in danger. And the police were sent to their home and took their son out of her hands and said, you don't get him now because you are endangering your son for not coming to this well check. Now, fill in any of the blanks that I missed, and then see if you can help walk our people forward into what has just happened and why this is really important that we are aware of it.
Yeah, Brad, you started off, and I think it's important for us to tell people this, because sometimes you hear these stories and you think, well, there's probably something else going on, and the family probably was doing something wrong. Where there's smoke, there's fire. The government wouldn't have gotten involved if there wasn't some hint of abuse, and I'm sure they were just saving the kid. So I think what you said is very important. People need to know. We know this family. I've known them more than a decade. I've had dinner in their homes, in their home. I've held this baby Cyrus, when he was about 1 month old, in my own arms, right there at the Idaho State Capitol, where they brought you in as well, Brad, a year before that, before baby Cyrus was born. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. I've watched these kids grow up. They've all been to Patriot Academy multiple times, even been on our travel team around the country to help start other Patriot Academies. They've had dinner here in my home. So I'm telling you, we know this family really well. They even helped to run Patriot Academy in Idaho. Now they do have their faults. I mean, clearly they booked Brad Stine to come in for an event. So they obviously no. Listen, that tells you right there their courage, right? They're not afraid of what Brad Stine might say on the steps of the Idaho Capitol. They know he's a patriot.
That shows their charitable heart. That's what that was.
They love you, man. They love patriotism. They love our country. They love the Constitution. Anyway, just a great family. And exactly what happens to a lot of us out there. The kid's 10 months old. I think they've been married 2 years now. They had baby Cyrus last, I think June it was, or May. And he was doing great up until they tried to wean him off the breast milk and get him into solid foods. And then he had some kind of an intestinal thing, or I don't understand the scientific part of it or the doctor part of it. Bottom line was he was throwing up a lot and having a hard time. So that's why he was beginning to lose weight. And so they were figuring out different things to experiment with. They took him to the doctor. They'd been at the hospital. They even stayed at the hospital a couple of nights. So it's not like one of these weird, they're in the backwoods, hiding out, not allowing a doctor to come anywhere near their baby because doctors are eating. It was not like that at all. They were seeking care for the kid and then having to make decisions. And the real issue here, Brad, is who owns the children, the state or the parents? Because the parents are doing the best that they can with the knowledge that's there, making very informed decisions. Frankly, the hospital and the doctors were doing stupid things. And you can hear the whole story. Diego tells it last night on my Front Porch Live. If you go to my Facebook page, Patriot Rick Green, you can watch this entire. I mean, Diego and I are crying together as we're going through the story of what happened to them. But the bottom line is they were doing everything they could to care for the child. And exactly what you just described in terms of they missed one appointment because she wasn't feeling well. And it's all over him being a little bit underweight. That's it. No abuse, no not trying to feed him, none of that crazy stuff. Just because he's a little bit underweight, which a lot of babies are. That's why it's called an average. At any rate, they no kidding, this one doctor gets the big head, and some of these people are like this, calls in CPS. CPS social worker comes in and decides she knows better than the parents. She creates this emergency situation. And here's what happened, Brad. They went to the house. The kids weren't there. The kids meaning Levi and Marissa. They're still kids to me, and the baby. And so the police put out a bolo. They literally put the whole city police network and county on notice to go track down and find Levi and Marissa and this baby. That's how ridiculous this was. Well, that night, they found them leaving a restaurant, not like they were in hiding. They were at a restaurant having dinner. It was actually kind of a going-away party because the family's actually trying to move to Florida. I've been planning this for months. And they find them and follow them to a gas station where what looks like to me on the video, thankfully Marissa had the wherewithal to live stream this and video it. There's like 12 police officers, Brad. They're surrounding them. There's 5 police officers, hands on weapons, holding Diego back, telling him that he can't interact at all. They finally end up arresting the father, Levi, because he promised his wife, I will not let them take the baby from you. And think about if they take the baby. And here's the thing, this family knows. They've shepherded and counseled and helped other families who had run-ins with CPS. We deal with this in the homeschool community a lot. I've had to help families in this situation where you get a social worker that hates homeschoolers and thinks that homeschooling's evil and bad. And if you don't vaccinate with every one of the 36 doses that they throw at your kid in the first 24 months, then you're evil and wrong and they want to take the kids from you. That mentality is out there. Don't forget, these are the same people that at the federal level call us domestic terrorists if we don't vaccinate with every vaccine and we homeschool our children and we love the Constitution and we go to church. That makes us a domestic terrorist. So that's the mindset here. And so anyway, the dad gets arrested. The sister-in-law gets arrested. Miranda's been one of our best Patriot Academy students. She's sitting in the front seat. They drag her. They're trying to drag her out of the window and finally take her and arrest her. And then Marissa's so sweet. You watch the video. She's just sweetly talking to the police officer saying, can you just help me? I can't give my baby over to you because breast milk is all that he will get down. And this would be a bad situation for me to be separated from the baby. Can I just go with my baby? I'll go with you to the hospital if that's what you're wanting. They promise her that's going to be the case. They get her into the ambulance. And in the ambulance, this police officer stands there in his tactical gear and says to her, either give me your baby and be on your merry way, or you are going to jail tonight. Brad, when I saw that on the video, I about lost it. This is the stuff where I get righteously angry. And eventually she says, I'm not giving you my baby. I will go with you to the hospital. They promised me that was what we were doing here. And he said, that's not what's going to happen. I don't know who that was that promised that, but we're not doing that. We're taking the baby and you're going to go on your merry way. They literally, you watch the phone get knocked out of her hands as they rip the baby out of her arms and take the baby. That was Saturday morning at 1 o'clock in the morning. By the time this happened, we still don't have baby Cyrus back. The good news is, after a covering of prayer from all over the nation, frankly, around the world, and hundreds of people showing up at that hospital and protesting almost around the clock for the last 48 hours, that last night they did let Levi and Marissa go in and see baby Cyrus they let them think about what that, that the authorities let the parents hold their baby for an hour. I'm sorry, I'm getting mad. And then, they had to leave. So they still have the baby. We're praying that tomorrow, they're finally going to have a hearing tomorrow in front of a judge. And so we're praying this judge sees through this insanity and gets the baby back to the parents. But Brad, I've seen this stuff spiral out of control. I had one lady sit in my office and bawl, cry, because for 6 months she hadn't been allowed to hug her child when she had done nothing wrong. It is insane what they are willing to do. It all comes back to parental rights. So I encourage people, we put out a Give, Send, Go to try to help them cover some of the legal fees. The hospital fees are through the roof as well. And people were so generous and have been giving literally around the clock. I set it up for them, so I see the email boxes like every few minutes somebody's donating. So thank you to all you people out there that did that. But man, I'm sorry for going so long. I get really upset when I talk about this because it's evil stuff.
No, I'm glad. I wanted the details. I wanted people that are listening to me and watch my podcast to understand what's happening, that it's easy sometimes when you watch conservatives or Christian channels or podcasts that are not on typical networks. So, you can kind of do and say whatever you want. It's easy to dismiss it as hand-wringing or dramatic or embellishment because you're trying to make a point. This is what's going on right now. It's getting worse and worse, and maybe because they see that it's possible that the Americans will turn on them. They will, maybe, if we are able to get actual elections, I'm guessing getting a lot of these guys are going to be voted out real quick here this year at the midterms. If we know that we can count on the elections being true, the fact that we even have to say those words should be a red flag for all of us. But
Brad, I got to jump in on you, man, because you have said this for years. You have warned about this for years. You said if we don't push back, If we don't push back and make them know that we mean business and that we're not going to take these, we let these little incremental takings of our freedom happen, and we're like, it's not that, it's somebody else, or it's not that big of a deal, or I can get, and then they take more. And then you've said it for years. You've tried to wake me and other people up to this for years. This only stops when we push back so hard that they say, I don't want this to happen anymore. Every one of those police officers that made decisions in this case and weren't willing to see it for what it was, the doctor, the social worker, they should all be reprimanded. They should all have the entire public saying that person either needs to be fired or at least in some way reprimanded. We have to push back so hard because it happens over and over again. And most of the time it's families that can do nothing about it. Diego, thankfully, has friends like us that are willing to talk about it. He has friends at the Capitol. The rally yesterday had legislators, gubernatorial candidates. Most people don't have that. And that's what Diego was telling me last night. He's like, Rick, think about the single mom that doesn't have the money or the wherewithal to fight back against this stuff. The system chews them up and spits them out. We have to work for systemic changes here. I hate using that language, but it is absolutely true. I've dealt with this, as I said, for 20 years. 3 years ago, Brad, you probably went off on this too, in Chandler, Arizona. Remember, we're talking about Meridian, Idaho here, a red state. 3 years ago in Chandler, Arizona, a red state, CPS makes the call and the police go in at midnight and beat the door down with guns pointed in, literally pointed in on a family because a kid had a fever. A kid had a fever that was going down, and the parents decided, okay, the fever's going down. Let's go get them in bed, and we'll see how things are going and watch them carefully. No, the social worker and the doctor knew better, so they bust in, take 3 children from that home, spread them out to foster homes. So now they're not only traumatically taken from their parents, they're traumatically ripped from their siblings. I'm telling you, Brad, this stuff has got to stop. This is not what happens in America.
Well, first off, is there how would they get on if somebody wanted to help? What's the
Sorry about that. I should have given that out. Thank you for asking for that. Freedomman.org. That tells you that's Diego's website, freedomman.org. And right there on the homepage now, you can see the story about Cyrus. He has the statutes listed. He has the videos of what happened. This is a travesty, but it is not uncommon that they do this all the time. And so we've got to bring as much attention to this as we possibly can. If people want to donate, that's a quick way to help. It does. And you can imagine for Levi and Marissa, I mean, how's Levi supposed to go to work right now and work when his baby's in this situation? And I mean, they're desperate to try to deal with this. You got lawyers you got to hire, you got the medical bills you're trying to deal with. So we're trying to give them some relief on the financial side. I mean, like you said, they're 22, 23-year-old kids that love their baby. You would look at the pictures, and it's just, these are great parents that care deeply about their kid. The siblings care about the grandparents. This is the model family, right? And yet that's who we're going to go in and do this to. Just makes my blood boil. Freedomman.org is Diego's website.
That's excellent. Yeah, and just great people. Pray for them when you think about it. Let God kind of intervene and bring in his spiritual dimension. I guess I remember once you said this, you and I have done these events together for quite a few years now. You are obviously more of an expert on the Constitution and history than me, but I've tried to study as much as I could to be informed, to be articulate about what it is. I just happen to do it like a comedian. That's my way of doing it. But
you're great at it, by the way. I'm telling you, your voice, John Cooper, a rocker out there, Skillet's lead singer and founder. Guys like you and John Cooper are turning the tide because people will listen to y'all more than they'll listen to somebody like me. So I'm glad you got a passion for this.
Well, and thank you. Well, and ditto, brother. I mean, when I was in San Diego, did get a lot of people afterwards. Thank you. People want to hear what I have to say. And the one thing that I've always said to people, I said, listen, I'm grateful that you like what I do. I'm grateful that it makes you laugh. I'm grateful that it inspires you. I'm grateful that it brings a passion up. I'm grateful that it confirms that you're not alone. There's a bunch of Americans believing like this, fighting for this, and willing to do as necessary. But what I always tell them is, but listen, I'll hear them say, hey, you're saying things that, people are afraid to say. I hope you're not. Don't wait for me. I'm just a piece of the puzzle to inspire you to go into your area of that you have influence. And if you aren't speaking it, you're the problem. And you're on my side. You're on my side. You agree with me. But if you're not speaking, you are the problem, and you don't even know it because you think by just simply believing the right things, that's enough. No, no. The Bible says you'll be known by your fruit. They should
Amen.
see you in action. And the truth is, and it's no, I'm not a genius, Rick. I'm an American. I'm a Christian. I'm a logical guy. I try to just see things as clearly as I can. But in 2008, I did a joke and I said, "You want to stop political correctness? How you stop it? You don't do it." Somebody says, "You hurt my feelings," and you say, "I don't care." Next. That's it. Now now that could have sounded a little, I don't know, callous or whatever. But what I was trying to say to them is the only power the left has had in the last number of years is controlling the narrative. They take control of the word and they use very, very difficult, powerful words that nobody wants to be associated with. They call you that word. You're a bigot. You're a phobic. You're a Nazi. You're minded. You're hateful. You're a hater. They use very powerful words. They can't justify using it because they can't prove I'm any of those things. So
Right.
that's slander.
Right.
They use the words, and then people foolishly back off. Oh man, I didn't want to come across that. Trying to be kind because that's the Judeo-Christian nature of the conservative, to try to be kind, try to be rational, try to be even keeled, try to talk it out, try to find an answer, try to give and take, try to dignify both sides. They don't do any of that. They have made it clear, if you're a leftist, not a liberal, if there's a few liberals left, even Bill Maher, for God's sake, is a classic liberal. He's starting to talk against this because he wants at least everybody to have a point of view and have access to it so we can try to find truth. But the far left make it very clear there is no compromise. There is no ambivalence. There is no nuance. They are full-blown scorched earth. You don't get to speak. You don't get to think. You don't get to live. Not in my watch. You will serve us. You will obey us, but you don't even get a place at the table in this America. That is as close to Civil War DNA as it gets. If I'm literally being told you will be a slave and you're going to like it, I don't know where else I can go. I don't know what else I can do. And I'm not saying I want a civil war or I want anybody to die, but the truth of the matter is we are at a place where something has to give. And I don't know what that is or what. Remember once you told me, you wouldn't even be surprised if what we end up finding is a divided America. The Union remains, but all the people that believe like us will end up in red states. All the people that believe like the blue will end up in blue states. Maybe we'll have to have some little passports to allow ourselves to cross over. We're still Americans, but we clearly have completely different views of the ideology of America. When the Constitution is being breached, when our rights are being thwarted, we have nowhere else to turn but the expectation that the Congress and the executive branch will obey them. But once they've decided to even discard those parameters that are the only sacrosanct element, it's not being the president, it's not being a congressman, it's not being a senator, it's not being a judge. It's the obedience to the rule book of the Constitution that dictates whether you are truly an American or not. There is nowhere else to go. If those rules are broken, there are no rules. Any last words you can tell our people as to what we can do, save starting militias, to try to bring some kind of rebalance, re-remembering of America, and an ability to take back our freedom?
Well, so much of what you said, man, is just spot on right now, and I do think it's a return to federalism is the only thing that's going to save our country. And what I mean by federalism is that we're held together as a nation by a federal constitution that allows the federal government to only do certain things, very limited. That's basically secure the border, military, that kind of thing. And then each state's going to have its own personality, and people are going to vote with their feet, just like you said. Really, really red states, really, really blue states. Barring a full revival where we can actually turn the whole nation, or enough of the nation that in each state they return to liberty, barring a real revival that would cause that, I think the only thing that keeps us from going to flat out civil war is exactly what you described. and allow people to live in communities of interest. And certain states like Texas and Tennessee and Idaho and others will probably be super red, and people that don't like that will move out of those states and move to places like, you know, Oregon and California that'll unfortunately probably become really, really blue. I don't think that's a given. Like states like Washington, I think, are up for grabs. I think there's a 50-50 chance that Washington could return to being red, or states could start splitting up, and you could have Eastern Washington be its own state and Western Washington be a state. I think that's a good way to think. We need to think outside the box. Have 100 states and you know, smaller states that are communities of interest. So we've got to start thinking like that if we're going to make it another century as a country. And I pray that we do, because we're still the last best hope of mankind on this planet, and we still need to be strong as a nation. But we've got to go back to first principles. We've got to study the Declaration, study the Constitution, and most of all, study God's Word, because that's where all those principles came from in the first place. So we've got to take it on ourselves. You said it a while ago. It's not enough to think about it or claim it. We have to take action. And that's the whole Bonhoeffer thing. You know, we talked about Metaxas earlier. His book on Bonhoeffer nails this. The silence in the face of evil is evil itself. So when you see this evil happening to baby Cyrus and the Anderson and Rodriguez families, to do nothing is to say, well, if it comes here, so be it. No, do something. Pray for them. Help with that covering of prayer that Diego said he can physically feel right now for his family. Make a donation of $5 or $500 or whatever you can do to help this family in this time of need. Do something. Lobby in your state for better laws to prevent this from happening in your neighborhood. All of us can do something. It's going to take some faith over fear, just like you said in May of 2020, Brad. That's you know, we've been saying it for that long. We got to shake people out of this and get back to those first principles. That's where we got to go. I appreciate you having me on, brother. Thank you.
My pleasure, and I always love you having me on. I probably try to do it even more often. I'd like to do one once I get my glitches figured out, so I can do this effectively, where people could ask you questions too, because I do get a lot of regulars that come on and are very interested in this and really are ready to do whatever is necessary. And there's a lot of areas of this that you're much more proficient at than me, that I'd love for them to be able to.
And all your people in Texas, hey, man, Brad's going to be with me for almost 3 weeks. We're going to be hitting city after city after city doing our comedy and Constitution. So make sure you pay attention to his social media. He'll be pushing those out when we have them nailed down.
Doing that over on my website, and I'll probably do another Facebook. Heck, we might even be able to do my podcast from one of the venues.
Oh, that'd be great.
Sure. Yeah. Or maybe run my, instead of the podcast, run
that'd
a Facebook Live. Who knows?
The whole show.
We'll show our people, don't give up. There are guys like me and you, but we want to look at you guys and say, you're like us, and you're doing your part, and we can, until they kill us, there's still hope. So let's keep fighting. God bless you, brother. Thank you so much, Rick.
Amen.
And I will see you soon, my buddy. Thanks. All right, guys.
So, I mean, I hate to go end out on on kind of a sober note, but you know, that's what happened to these people in Idaho right now. They're just a young couple who can't have access to their son because you know, CPS was called in and decided you don't get your son. So this is what we have to be aware of. This is what is at stake. This is just another piece of the pie of where federal governments have decided they're going to control us. And like you said, the purging of the military, the reason they mandated vaccines is so that they could find the military personnel who chose not to get vaccinated, so they could get rid of them, so they get complete compliant soldiers who will do whatever is necessary, including attacking American citizens if ordered to do so. This is where we're at. It's as real as it gets. It's not over. We can still fight, we can still defend, we can still pray, we can still hope, we can still dream, we can still mobilize, but what was going to happen, I'm telling you right here now, is whatever state you happen to be in, you have to get every little town, every little village, every little county, every little place of Christians, conservatives, patriots, libertarians, I don't care what you're, atheists that care about America, to mobilize, to come together and say, we're not putting up with this, we are going to be controlled by this Constitution, we will not allow judges to circumvent it, we will not allow governors to circumvent it, we will not obey any unconstitutional mandate immediately, and we will seek to have you if you try to force this type of thing. We'll have a recall. We'll get rid of you. If you're in California, you can't recall because your votes are getting harvested and it's stolen. But once we can get behind that and get actual votes, then we will win again, and we will simply have to destroy this ideology, this Marxist ideology, this critical race theory, everything that is designed to destroy America, and it's working. We're very, very, very close to either having a great awakening of Americans who will never put up with us again, and we've seen it with the school board meetings and so forth, or we'll lose our country, and then you won't be free, and I will be in prison or killed. But that's how I want to go out. As you know, I got heart issues, and I got everything, this and that, so I'm just saying, I'd rather not die as an old man in a bed. I'd rather die fighting for God and Christ, or for my family and my country. That's how I want to go out. We'll see. But either way, thank you for coming on. Thank you for putting up with the glitch, folks. I'm so sorry. I hate it. I'm going to try to find some technician to come and help me reset this thing up. I promise you that as long as you're loyal to show up and that what I'm doing you think matters and has value, I'll keep growing it. We'll keep getting it better. We'll still have more interesting guests. We'll keep fighting the good fight, I promise you. And we will see if we can in fact believe for a third great awakening and for God's intervention to allow us to fight another day and still remain the greatest nation in human history. Hey, if you believe in what I'm doing as a Christian conservative and or American, you can just say, how can I donate? And I'll send you a little link, and you can donate if you choose. It's a 501c3. I'm a nonprofit. If you want to help me grow this and hire technicians that can help me do this better, so be it. Anyways, as I've always said, I'm here for you. If it no longer gets donated to, if it no longer is taken care of, then I'll feel like it's run its course, it's over. But as long as it grows and continues, then I will continue to put out there as long as I have breath. God bless you for being here. We will be here next Monday, and who knows, maybe we'll even have a little bit better setup in the system. Maybe I'll get somebody in between there to help set this thing up. We'll see. But hey, you never know. On the Bread Stine Has Issues, that's what everybody's laughing at. You never know what glitch is going to be. Maybe that's part of the fun. But Wyatt, thanks for coming, son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And listen, you need some rest. You got a Lowe's you have to get to tomorrow.
I need those wrenches, and I need them now.
Amen. God bless you, folks. See you next Monday. And if you want to donate, let me know. I'll send you a link. God bless